All right, friends, welcome to our meditation time. I would invite you to get comfortable in your physical body. Allow your eyes to close or your gaze to just soften. And just really give yourself these first few breaths to arrive. Whatever has gone on in your day-to-day, whatever has been busy, whatever has been joyful, whatever has been difficult and challenging, let's just leave it all in the past. The good, the bad, the neutral, all of it. And really give ourselves this permission to arrive in the present moment. And so as the body becomes comfortable and the eyes close to lessen the distractions, just marvel at the fact that you get to spend time with you. It's not something that we do very often in our busy day, in our busy lives. But just think what an honor it is just to be with myself, enjoying this present moment. And so let's just find some breath together, and then you'll settle into a rhythm that feels right for you. But let's just take a slow breath in. And then collectively just breathe it out. And a slow breath in. And collectively breathing it out. And one more in. And let it go. And I'd ask that each of us just kind of do a body scan. Not one where you're looking for tight shoulders or cranky hips, but rather go deeper. Go below the surface of the muscles and the tissue and the skin and just scan to see how peaceful you feel at the energetic level. Again, you've had a busy day. Some parts wonderful, some parts tough, some parts neutral. But just kind of scan, almost like you're trying to check in with your mind and your heart and your soul. And all those electrical currents that run through your body, through your nervous system, and just see if you feel evidence of peace. It's not a judgment. It truly is just finding awareness of how does the peace exist within me. And so we're on this journey for the next little while, just really looking at peace, this word shanti in Sanskrit, from many different angles. And so for today, I went to the words of Dr. King, but I didn't go to the words that many of us are so used to hearing in so many of his speeches that are recited and quoted. I went instead to the night that he accepted the Nobel Peace Prize. And as I read those words again, I'd forgotten about them for many years. But as I read them again, my heart broke. I could feel the pain as he stood and he accepted this global honor that is held aside for so few people. And he started off the speech, and you can just feel how heavy his heart is. And he said, I'm not sure how I can stand here and accept an award, a recognition for peace, when just hours ago another church was burned in Montgomery, or just when another family was made to feel like they didn't belong in Mississippi, and another person couldn't walk down the street and feel safe. And he began to name these neighborhoods where all of these things were happening, and you can just feel the pain in his heart, the burden that he was carrying as he was the one being recognized for cultivating peace. And then it doesn't say it in his speech, but I could almost just feel this sigh where he centered himself and he began to think, why was he there? And I can just imagine, his eyes got brighter and his face began to shine as he said, I understand that this recognition, this prize, this award represents our attempt to bring peace to a troubled world. We don't forego the recognition just because we quite haven't achieved it as we have dreamed yet. But we do need to pause, he said, and we do need to count the blessings of peace that we're already experiencing. It's not perfect, and it's not done. But he goes on to say how humbled and honored he is to get to be the face for this work toward peace in our country. And I am sure that there are countries across this planet that have this person like we had Dr. King, who sees challenges and suffering and begins to act to do something about it. He sees separation and division, and he begins to try to bring people together. And I have a feeling, without knowing all the stories of all the great people around our planet, that there are many people who have these same burdens. They have personally experienced peace in their life, in their home, in their practice. And it breaks their heart to look out and see that it's not everywhere. So they begin to work, just as he did. And so as I read the words of his speech a few times over today, and I just sat with this idea of discouragement. Because all we have to do is turn on the news or one social media feed. And I would propose that we would see way more non-peaceful things than we see evidence of peace. I would guess that we'd see way more evidence of violence and separation and anger and misunderstanding than we would see evidence of harmony and unity and love. And just like he started his speech, very easily our hearts could break, maybe even get a little angry ourselves at the potential of human beings that's being wasted. And then we dream what our world could look like if everyone could just pause and breathe and see through eyes of kindness and compassion and unity. But just like Dr. King said about midway through his speech, instead of getting discouraged by the places where peace has not come yet, I want to feel empowered by the places where it already exists. It exists here. As we show up collectively, whether we're doing it live across these airwaves of Zoom or whether we're listening to a recording later, this act of showing up to meditation represents evidence of peace. And I know that our newscasts and our headlines and our social media feed shows something very different. But instead of getting discouraged and frustrated by that, I'd like us to choose to be encouraged by this. There are people across our community, across these airwaves, across this planet, showing up to sit, to be, to breathe, to do just as we did in the very beginning, letting the day go. The past is the past, and here we are now. And so when I asked us as we began for us each just to kind of do a body scan and just see if you can feel evidence of peace within you. Some of you I know were tired and you looked for it and you didn't find it. And some of you are sorrowful and angry and frustrated and all the adjectives that we can describe for what this human existence sometimes brings across our way. But I'd ask us right here and now to scan again, to be encouraged and empowered by the fact that not only did you show up, but so did others. And they'll go to work tomorrow, and they'll go to their volunteer events, and they'll talk to their families, and they'll drive on the highways just as you will. And they'll be instruments of peace. I choose to be encouraged by that. And so what I would invite us to do is just to sit and just cultivate the peace and the calm and the ease of just being. And as we grow quiet, if your mind starts to wander, just notice it and just let it be. Don't let it frustrate you. Choose instead to sit and to cultivate the peace and the ease that you feel right here and right now. In the example of Dr. King, let's not wait to see it across the whole world. Let's see it in ourselves and realize for right now, that's enough. So let's just take a few breaths here together as we begin to settle in, to become quiet. So just breathing in slowly and breathing out fully. And inhaling and exhaling. And one more together. And breathing out. And let's just practice this being. And let the being be the cultivation of the peace. And as you continue to breathe, just checking in again, scanning, noticing without judgment, without criticism. Can you feel the peace? Again, it's not perfect and it's not everywhere, I know, just yet. But all it takes is one evidence for you to understand that it's real. And instead of, like he said, there was still one more church that was being burned and there was still one more family that was being turned away. What about the neighborhoods that had become safer? What about the people that had been empowered? So I encourage us in the coming days, instead of getting frustrated by the lack of peace that we see, instead of getting discouraged by the amount of violence and how people act, look deeper, look more closely, look for evidence of peace. And if you can't find it in the news headlines, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and find it in you. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't start off to become a man that would stand and receive the Nobel Peace Prize. He started off a young boy growing up in the South who saw things that broke his heart. And he did something about it. He's no different than us, and we are no different than him. The peace starts within. So as we prepare to close our time, I encourage each of us just to keep pausing. In the coming days, when you notice the lack of the peace, even when you look deeply and you look closely, just close your eyes and see it within you. Namaste.